um, if Kariandusi is not a scene of crime yet, then it should be marked as a scene of crime from now. Chair, forget about what it is that those guys are doing at Kariandusi. But whether then there can also be an argument that my colleague John and his team just picked portions of what they wanted and then broadcasted. But the fact that you are selling diatomite and passing it off as organic fertilizer, just by that alone, without even going into the details of what you've done, by that alone, then that's a serious crime. A serious crime is, anything that affects food security, it becomes a matter of national security. Because then if people are not well fed, then you are likely to have serious riots, bigger riots than the ones that we staged over other things. Secondly, Chair, how possible is it? Because when I looked at that, it's almost clear that it's something that's happening almost in the open. It's not. It doesn't happen some place where nobody can access. How is it that such a thing could happen for such a long period of time, and government agencies have not raised an alarm? Then would I then be right to say that there is an element of collusion between the Kariandusi plant and agencies of government? How is it possible that you can package this thing for 2 years, and even the local chief or assistant chief, NIS, they have not flagged off that thing? I mean, when we do smaller things, they are flagged off. When I meet more than 5 people in my compound, somebody says there is a meeting taking place. I mean, there are trucks and trucks of of this thing being ferried from a location, and nobody has released it. And lastly, Chair, I am now convinced that this conspiracy runs deeper than I thought. Chair, it will be remembered because it's on record. When I raised this matter on the floor last week, and I mentioned NCPB and KEBS, I was forced to withdraw my statement or my comments. And I was told that NCPB and KEBS are not part of this thing. And I said, in the best interest of peace, on the floor of the Senate, I withdraw the mentioning of NCPB and KEBS. The same day, the following day, the government ordered NCPB to stop the distribution of the fertilizer. We have all seen the labeling of KEBS on this fertilizer. It's not a fertilizer, whatever it is that they're selling. So, Chair, NCPB becomes an entity of interest to this committee. KEBS becomes an entity of interest to this committee. And that man you're calling who? Joe Kariuki becomes a person of interest to this committee. And the sooner they appear before this committee, the better for this country. So that we stop whatever it is that they are doing. They owe this country an explanation. Chair, I submit.
I think, Chair, I want to commend our brothers and sisters in the Uncensored. I have been following John Alanamo for quite some time, since he started investigating journalism. You had disappeared, but I'm happy. Kumbe, you are doing a wonderful job. Secondly, is as a leader who comes from the region, who we pride of leading the nation, this inquiry, Chairman, is highly welcome. We want to put to rest most of the fears and concerns of farmers. Most of us, when we are in the villages, there are so many concerns from farmers, especially in the usage of fertilizer. I want to repeat and agree with my brother that any threat to food security is terrorism. There is no any other better word than to call this is more than terrorism, because when there is food insecurity, it is a threat to national security. And it is very unfortunate. It looks like this syndicate is a well-organized criminal enterprise, and there is some level of abetting and commissioning or omission by some of the agencies who should have done their job. I want to agree that any product that comes out has a mark of Kenya Bureau of Standards. And that is what gives confidence to most Kenyans to use the products, be it food or any other product that you buy. So it is very unfortunate that other entities like KEPS are let down to the farmers. And we have a challenge. You know, it's now no longer about this challenge of fake fertilizer, the challenge of fake seeds. And I think we need heads to roll. As a chairman, when you declared that this inquiry will be formed, and I saw it, I was happy because I expected the DCI to have already arrested some of the suspects who are speaking freely on television and taking Kenyans for granted. And what is the work, you know, this Kariandusi diatomite, when you pass, as you go to Nakuru, it does its business in the open. What is the work of National Intelligence Service in this country? They are sleeping on the job. Because the work of NIS is to inform the necessary action to be taken to relevant agencies. The National Environment Management, the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, they should be part of it, because I want to agree, when even you want to construct your cow shed, NEMA will be on your door. But when fertilizer are being sold, they are nowhere to be seen, the same as to KEPS, National Cereals and Produce Board Chair, NCPP, must be called out, because when they approve the sale of such what we have seen, like Mavuno, like the one that we have seen, they are being labeled organic fertilizer. But now they are saying it is soil booster. So they are confusing farmers much more, Chair. And therefore it is very unfortunate that they, and in fact, the NCPP also must tell us what is their role. Because if they are selling a product that is not well approved, or a product that does not have confidence of farmers, then NCPB must also be held culpable in this subsidy program of fertilizer. I know for a fact the intention of subsidy program, especially on farming foods, was a noble idea to try and assist farmers who do not have access, because the price of fertilizer is overshoot to 7,000 shillings. So when the subsidy came on board, it came to 2,500, and now this organic fertilizer was being touted to be the best at 1,700. And you know, I noticed when you are trying to put this, it's now, is it organic fertilizer or soil booster? It goes away with the wind. So I think there is, Chairman, I want to believe in this inquiry. One, NCPB must appear before this committee. Two, Kenya Bureau of Standards must appear. Three, National Environment and Management Authority. Four, Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. Because if diatomite owners, directors are not even aware of what some of the products are being used to manufacture fertilizer, then there is a big problem. Chair, I want also, as we have said, the committee should visit farmers. The media is doing much more than we are doing, and yet we are the representatives of the people. We want Chair to visit the farmers. And I want to ask, through this committee, Chair, and indulgence of members, if any farmer has fertilizer that they suspect is fake, they should not throw it away. They should keep it as evidence. In fact, I don't know, they should go and take an OB in the nearest police station, so that we want to get to root matter and let the real people be punished, the real culprits be punished, Chair. Finally, Chair, the food stability in this country will be determined if we protect the chain of these farm inputs, which are subsidized to farmers. If we can protect, Chair, from where I come from, we know this country, and we have been told this country imports close to half a trillion of food products into this country because of the food shortage that we normally face. If we cannot protect this chain, it means that we are risking of this country being import reliant to the detriment of farmers and even our local businesses. So, Chair, this issue of fake fertilizer, and I hope as we look into the inquiry, we should look also at the fake seeds, because there are many farmers who planted and they are yet to see. And then with this certifying process of seeds and fertilizer, we must be told that what really happened, Chair. But from where I come from, farmers are a bit jittery, but now we need to ensure this matter is concluded as soon as possible, because in my region we are now at planting season. We started in March 15, and by April, May, we should be concluding planting of this process. Chair, let us get to the bottom of this. I want to thank Uncensored Africa, wish them well. Investigative journalist is one of the trickiest things to do. But you know, Chair, I wrote my thesis on media freedom and Constitution 2010, so I know what journalists go through. But thank you for being brave. You know, Kenya kila mtu tu akishakuwa sawa, watoto wake wako sawa, anaona akiamuka asubuhi arudi kwake, hataki kusumbuana na mtu. But I'm happy you are doing something that is uncomfortable to some people. But at least we are noting the truth. From the side of the Senate, I want to assure for the people I represent that we'll stand and ensure farmers get justice and even get compensation for the people who are, and this karaoke, you should be here by tomorrow, Chair. It becomes easy so that we can know. Your confidence is not normal, Chair. Thank you, Chair, and those are my comments.
Okay, let me begin by thanking the team for a job well done and keep on doing the right thing. Thank you. Secondly, Chair, I think I will only say one thing. For me, I think I'll be a bit harsh. This is an indication of a failed state. Because if the government appears not to be in control over the things that are happening about and upon the citizens, then we have a bigger problem. If this thing has been going on for almost 2 years, and government institutions, government agencies are also involved, what are we saying? Kenyans are not safe. Chair, I repeat, Kenyans are not safe. I think we rely on good people like you who are bringing this expose and bringing the information to Kenyans who are blindly being misled, and we are being misgoverned. Thank you.
Chairperson, Senators, Executive, majina yangu ni Senator Alexander Munyi Mondigi, Vice Chairperson, Agriculture, Livestock and Blue Economy, na Senator wa Embu County. Yangu ni kupongeza ambaye wale wamefanya kazi, ilikuwa kwa giza, ikawa kwa mwangaza, na shukuru nyinyi sana kwa sababu mimi nafurahia nikisema asante kwa yale yote mmetenda. Kwa sababu ni kitu imemaliza karibu miaka 3 hivi kutoka kwa ile serikali nyingine na hii nyingine. Nasema hivyo kwa sababu mimi ni mmoja wale senator wa Embu County, nisoma statement ambaye ningetaka fertilizer itoke kwa cereal bond iende mpaka masinani kwa mwananchi ndio aweze kufaidika njia ya kilimo. Na ni wakati nisoma statement serikali ilisikia kilio kutoka kwa 6,500 ikakuja mpaka 2,500, na pia serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ikaamurisha ikuje 2,500 iende mpaka mashinani. Ya pili, nasema hivyo kwa sababu nakumbuka hata statement ya mbegu zile zilikuwa na pandwa ya chakula ya mahindi, maharagwe na zile zingine zote. Pia nikasoma statement, na wakati wale waliangalia ile statement wakasema mbegu ni mzuri. Kwa hivyo naona mmefanya kazi nzuri. Na hiyo ingine nashukuru kwa sababu serikali ya Kenya Kwanza hapo mwanzo iliona ni vizuri kuangalia kilio ya mkulima na ikasaidia. Mambo ya ajabu ni wale walipatiwa kazi, ikawa hizi kampuni zimetanjwa hapa, anja yao wamepanga vile wanajitanjirisha, lakini kujitanjirisha wamejitanjirisha na njia ile haifai. Kwa sababu kwa mimi niko na huzuni, kwa sababu ni kama kifo. Kwa sababu kitu ya kwanza, tumeona vitu nyingi pale kwa media ambazo zingine ni vitu ilikuwa tengenezwa na mawe, zingine ni vitu vingine hata uwezi elewa zimechanganyishwa. Ni kitu ambayo unaona katika nchi yetu ya Kenya tuko na huzuni kwa sababu ya ugonjwa ya kansa imeenea kila kona zote. Kwa hiyo vitu zingine tulikuwa nauliza ugonjwa inatoka wapi, iende ikawa ni chakula kama hizi tumekula. Hiyo ingine ni mambo ya magonjwa hata ya kumwa na tumbo imeleta shida kwa watoto, kwa watu wazima. Kwa hivyo ni kitu ya huzuni. Yangu ni kuomba Senate, ambaye Senate ni hapa house, tukiwa sisi wote kuweza kwenda mashinani tuweze kuangalia, na ningeomba county zile zimepata shinda, ni moja yangu ya Embu County iko na ngunia 2,300, ambaye ningeomba tu, sijui kama kwa Sirion Bond kama tutafunguliwa, ningeomba pia serikali tupe nguvu na security, ndio tukienda pale kama serikali wale watu watafungua ile stores, tuwe na njia ya kuweza kufungua zile stores, na pia tuone ni nini kiko kule, kwa sababu tunajua singine asinjaenda. Kwa hiyo naomba tuweze kuangalia na njia ile inafaa. Ya pili na ya mwisho ni kuwa watu wengine wamejitanjirisha, na ni kitu moja ya aibu sana. Kwa hivyo mimi naunga mkono tuweze kuangalia vile tutasaidia serikali yetu ya Kenya Kwanza, kwa sababu serikali rais amejaribu, lakini wafanyikazi wamekuwa wameshindwa na kazi, na pia departments zote tutakuangalia, tutasita zote ndio tuweze watu wote wa Kenya waweze kujua ukweli. Ni asanti, ni mimi Senator wa Embu County.
Kwanza John, ni kushukuru kwa sababu ya ujasiri. Kufanya kitu kama hichi nadhani kinataka moyo na ni kujitolea kwa ajili ya mkulima. Na niseme ni aibu kubwa sana, kwa sababu wakati mradi wa kupeana pembejeo na mbolea ya ruzuku wananchi wa Kenya ilipoanza, wakulima walikuwa na matumaini na tuliona mazao. Lakini katika pilika hizi kunaonekana kuna majambazi ambao walikuja wakakaa wakachora na wakaamua kwamba watakuja kutanjirika kwa njia hii. Lakini tunapokaa, unajua Waswahili husema kivuli cha fimbo hakiwezi kumficha mtu jua, kwa sababu sasa imebainika wazi kuna wakora, kuna wakiritimba ambao wameingilia hii biashara na kuharibu. Mimi nikiangalia mahali kulingana na venye nimefuatilia kidogo pale, nimeona ni kama kuna mwanya ulitumika, kwa sababu mbolea ya serikali sana sana bajeti inapoweka katika wizara ya kilimo inapopita katika bunge la kitaifa, alafu wakati wa manunuzi inapelekwa kwa wizara ya viwanda kupitia nyenzo taasisi ya serikali inaitwa Kenya National Trading Corporation. Na sijaisikia mahali, tulisikia wakati wa mafuta, sasa hatujasikia mambo ya KNTC. Nafikiria mtu ambaye alikuwa anaitwa Joe Kariuki pale alienda akatengeneza mipango yake pia sambamba na National Cereals Produce Board. Fertilizer anajua inapelekwa pale na yeye anakuja anapeleka, kwa sababu anasema hana kandarasi yoyote ya serikali. Lakini mbolea yake, udongo yake, kwa sababu sio mbolea, ilikuwa inapatikana NCPB. Pia ni kama alikuwa ameweka pale pia marketing agents. Ukija pale unaambiwa hii ndio uzuri, unachukua udongo. Swali kubwa ni kwa sababu mbolea ilikuwa inalipwa kupitia taasisi ya serikali ya halmashauri ya nafaka. Ukipewa voucher unalipa na M-Pesa kufika pale. Joe Kariuki alikuwa anapata pesa zake kivipi? Kwa sababu taasisi ya kiserikali na malipo inapitia kwa taasisi ya kiserikali kwenda kwa mtu binafsi, labda uwe tu unalipwa kandarasi kulingana na sheria za manunuzi. Lakini hii sijui basi ilikuwa inapangwa vipi, na ndio ningependa tulizamie njuga kabisa jambo hili kuhakikisha kwamba mkulima anafaidika. Na nikimalizia, si vizuri tu mtu ashikwe kwa sababu amekuja kauza mbolea ya ruzuku, mbolea gushi. Inafaa pia ulipe kupotea kwa nafasi ya kuweka pesa mfukoni ya mkulima, kwa sababu mvua ni ya Mungu, imekuja imepita. Umeniuzia mbolea haifai. Hata kama nikipata pesa siwezi rudi nyumba nikaweza kulima, msimu umeisha. Nani anafaa kugharamia? Kwa hivyo hiyo ni mambo tutafanya, tutaita hata taasisi zingine na nyenzo zote za kiserikali ambazo zinafaa kuhusika. Tuhakikisha hapa tumejua majibu na tumefika mwisho. Huwa nasema ni ole wao wanaokula nauli, kwa sababu inabidi ujue chochoro. Unapokula pesa ya mwananchi kwa njia isiyofaa, lazima inabidi pia utakuja kujua chochoro. Kwa hivyo mimi kama mwenyekiti wa hii kamati ya ukulima, uvuvi, mifugo na uchumi samawati, nataka niseme ya kwamba tumeanza hata tukiwa kwa likizo, na nimshukuru pia Senator wa Nandi kwa sababu ya kuja. Tunawalika maseneta wote ifikapo tarehe 10, tunawaalika wale wote wahusika, na barua tunazoandika nimepeana mwelekeo, nikasema isiwe ni barua tu ambao ni nyepesi kama ya mapenzi. Lazima mtu akuje katika ikamati. Kutumia lugha ambao ni nyepesi kupembelezana, hiyo nayo tutafanya sahihi. Kama haji aseme haji. Unapoenda kutazama mwanyama unaruhusa kushika simba mkia kama unataka, matokeo utajua baadaye. Kwa hivyo nimemalizia hapo, nitampatia nafasi John.
Mwenyekiti, nilisahau kitu kimoja tu kwa dakika ni 30 seconds. Just a quick one, chair. Nimesahau kuongezea, chair, kama kamati pia inaweza uzisha mkaguzi wa hesabu za serikali Bi Nancy Katungu afanye ile inaitwa special audit ama forensic audit. In fact, forensic audit ifanyike. Let them do a forensic audit, because when you do a forensic audit there is possibility of prosecution. So Chair, is it possible also when you are inviting stakeholders, you request the Auditor General, Madam Nancy Katungu, to initiate forensic audit in this fertilizer, and then also I don't know whether we'll use the government chemist or any other independent chemist so that we get independent opinion. So I'll explore that possibility of Auditor General on special, not special audit, but forensic audit. No, Senate is a house of facts, so that when we are saying this product does not meet the threshold of being called a fertilizer as per the Act, then we have independent laboratories. So Chair, I thought I should add that. Thank you for the
ambao ni waathiriwa kwamba wakuje na voucher, wakuje na njumbe fupi, wakuje na mbolea ambayo walinunua. Na tutaenda tayari, tutaenda Murang'a tarehe 4, tutaenda Laikipia, tutaenda Nakuru, tutaenda Embu, kaunti zinaenda zikiongezeka. Na pia nadhani karani wa hii kamati amesikia kwamba mratibu pia Nancy Kathongo kuja hapa, kwa sababu tunafaa pia tujue wale waliopewa kandarasi ya kuleta mbolea na serikali ni akina nani,
na uongeze North Rift kwa hiyo county.
Na pia wewe
tunapanda so that you know it's planting season, ndio twende tuone kwa shamba watu wakipanda na those challenges.
Na pia North Rift tuko na wewe hapa, utatupatia details Nandi ili tuweze kwenda kuangalia na kukutana na wakulima. Kwa hivyo John Alamnamu, nitakupatia nafasi.
Chair, 1 minute. Just one. So in his own admission, you call him Joe Kariuki. He says, Joe Kariuki says he has no contract with NCPB. But in that expose, I'm seeing young people dressed in NCPB outfit, telling somebody this is a good one, this is a good fertilizer. Now, the question you have raised is very important. Then if you have no contract with NCPB, of course you don't believe him. So the money that when I go to buy fertilizer, I'm paying to NCPB. So how was Kariuki ever getting his money? Where was he getting his money from? Unless then, you know, I also run a foundation. Maybe he had just given this fertilizer, this soil to NCPB as a donation. Because how was he supposed to make his money if he has no contract with NCPB? Lastly, Chair, and I like what John has done. He has provided context to his expose, so that you know the kind of characters that you're dealing with. That you know, if Kariuki then was a pastor, then we would say perhaps maybe, you know, ni mateso tu ya shetani kidogo kidogo hivi. But the guy has a history of involvement in criminal activities, and so Chair, the earlier, as I say, the earlier you bring those people here, the better for this country. Thank you.
Mengi ni kuomba serikali injaribu vile itawezekana, kwa sababu tuko kwa mfumo ya mvua na mvua imeanza kunyesha na kaunti nyingi hasina fertilizer. Watu wa agriculture na wale suppliers waangalie vizuri, ndio kitendo kama hiki kimefanyika ikikuje kufanyika tena, kwa sababu tunajua serikali ya Kenya Kwanza inasema pesa mkononi, ingawa hapo mwisho tumepata aibu kwa wale wamesema watu wakufe wakijitanjirisha. Naomba serikali saa iwe macho, every county na sublocation na kila kona zote, ile fertilizer inaenda masinani iangaliwe 100%, ndio tuweze kuona vile mkulima ataweza kufaidika, kwa sababu masinani hakuna fertilizer na pia watu wako na uoga ya kuchukua hiyo fertilizer. Huyu mpaka serikali iwe maso na security na chief, ndio kila mtu akipatiwa fertilizer iwe imeangaliwa vizuri. Asante.
Made a time to be here this afternoon, as well as to the Secretariat of the Senate Committee. Before I make my comments, I'd just like to give each of the members of the editorial team that worked on this documentary an opportunity to respond to some of the things that have been mentioned. Starting with our head of investigation, Sam Munia. We'll just keep our comments brief so that we don't stay here too long.
Giving us this opportunity. For me, it's sad what is happening on the ground, and we as a team that is dedicated to tell the public interest stories, we shall not stop. And thank you for listening to us. One of the developments that I will say is that after the story, we ran a breaking news from KEBS. The managing director agreed with our story, and I believe John Allen will expound more on that. Thank you.
Mine is just to add to why we are having more fake fertilizers. Maybe it's because nothing is being done. But today we have shown you someone is packaging a waste product as a fertilizer. Now it's up to you to take action and do something so that this habit of farmers being taken advantage of stops today.
Thank you for this opportunity. And as someone who was directly involved in the story, sorry, my name is Cynthia Gishiri.
Oh, the lady is different from you. But I see some name which is different.
Yeah, they are both my names. Cynthia Wangoi Gishiri, that's my name.
Okay. I didn't appreciate it.
Yes, as the person who was directly involved in producing the story alongside my colleagues, I would like to respond to Honorable Dan Mazu's question about what more have we found out. We are, in the story I highlighted one of the challenges that we went through in terms of farmers being free to speak to us. So a lot more is coming up in terms of what now farmers are able to speak up about after the publication of the story. And perhaps just to reiterate what my colleague Kanyi has said, I think as Africa Uncensored, we have done our level best to bring this thing out, and maybe just to give an opportunity to the powers that be and the state agencies to be able to investigate even the comments that we have received as part of the feedback after the publication of the story. Thank you.
So, Chair, I have a few things to say, some based on the comments that have been made by your fellow senators, others our own observations on the basis of the investigation that we conducted. First, I think it's to say that you rarely, if ever, will get an opportunity to speak to journalists directly about the work that they do, because usually what we do is that we stop at publication. But we as a team felt that this was serious enough that we would then apply to present this to the Senate Agriculture Committee and the National Assembly Agriculture Committees, as well as the Public Accounts Committees, because as has been mentioned, food security is a national security issue. And we felt that through our investigations, that this ought to be taken seriously enough that, not only does it reach the level of the presidency, but that investigations be done in a speedy fashion, and that the farmer who is providing, sustenance for all of us be protected. The major observation that we made as we conducted this investigation was that a majority of the farmers that have been affected are small-scale farmers, and that is the majority of farmers across the country. So the people who have lost seasons, the people who have lost crop, the people who have lost money are legion. And I think it behooves this House and other agencies that are involved in the protection of the public purse, as well as the members of the public, to then look at their plight and be, sympathetic to what has happened. So I'm glad to have heard these comments. Honorable Chair and the senators present, the food security issues and the investigations that we've conducted are part of a wider systemic issue in corruption that we've noted since about 2018. We've been investigating public procurement corruption issues since 2018, and the trends that we observed in this particular investigation are the same. There seems to have been some sort of collusion before the presentation of this to members of the public about who was going to win the tender, who was going to conduct it, and what quality of goods or services were going to be procured by that individual. Secondly, again, if you were to look even further back, this mirrors, in terms of the length of time that it took, it mirrors the Anglo leasing scandal in that it has taken place across two regimes. So, in as much as there might be political implications to what I'm about to say, I think it's important that as a Senate and as politicians, we admit that this is something that transcends all parties, and that it is quite possible that politicians of different persuasions have been involved in this. Not just politicians, but also government officers have been involved in this over the period of about 3 years. Third is a question of trust. Fundamentally, I think what this has done is that it has lowered the trust that members of the public, specifically farmers, have in the products that the government is procuring. And that's a very serious issue, because if the government, which is one of the largest procurers of any good in this country, cannot be trusted by farmers, then any agenda that is anchored on farming, on fertilizer, on seed, cannot be fully successful. And it is that insidious that the people who perhaps were behind this have affected an intangible that cannot be bought or sold. It can only be built over time, and it will be destroyed in one fell swoop. And that is a question of trust. If members of the public cannot trust their agencies to be able to do the things that they are supposed to do, mandated to do, if all of these various barriers to having, to having bad actors infiltrate, as well as pollute the issue of procurement of fertilizer, then what we are saying is that the various institutions, and some of which have been called upon here, ought to be called to account for having caused suffering to members of the public, specifically farmers, and by extension, anybody who eats food in this country. On the latest, as you've seen over the past couple of weeks, there have been revelations by members of the public about the quality of fertilizer that they've been receiving across the country from various tenders, from various operators. You can see what complaints have been coming out. We are investigating the same. I'll go as far as to say that, so that we are not being seen coming a mile away. But suffice to say that again, it follows a similar pattern of infiltration, especially when there are large procurements that are being done. So our agencies, our security agencies especially, ought to be incredibly vigilant. One suggestion that's been made to me is that there ought to be enforcement agencies within the various agencies that are charged with food production and our food security that are looking at the quality of the foods, of the products that are used to grow food from an enforcement perspective beyond KEBS. Because to answer the question that Honorable Manzo had asked about KEBS, and I think Honorable Wambua had done so as well, KEBS, NEMA, for as many times as we will blame them, do not have the capacity to be in all places at all times. And I know it sounds contrarian of me as a journalist to be, speaking perhaps on their behalf, but this is a long-term problem. If you find how many KEBS officers or how many NEMA officers are on the ground in any given station, you'll be shocked to know that 2 to 3 people would be charged with the administration of 2 to 3 counties. So they are doomed to fail from the beginning. So if there's any empowerment that should happen, it should be to the agencies that are charged with ensuring standards are met and kept in our country. The other thing is, in terms of complaints, I've heard that farmers ought to be asked to keep receipts, etc. All of the farmers that we interviewed, that you saw, went through the ERP mezzanine system to apply. So the question that you're asking about how the person who was featured in our documentary was able to get paid ought to be asked to him directly, as well as questions around what he defines as fertilizer, because he has a very fast and loose definition of what exactly he is selling and what fertilizer actually is as per the letter of the law as displayed. On questions of complacency of the government, etc., I think I'll just let our documentary speak for itself. As well as on the question of it being a scene of crime, I believe the Directorate of Criminal Investigations had been mandated to do something. The final comments I think I'll reserve for individuals and as well as various parties that have been commenting about this issue of fertilizer, specifically about the work that we've done over the past couple of weeks. And to thank you, Senator Wambua, for protecting not just me, but the profession of journalism when certain senators, chose rather than to look at the facts than to attack individuals. And unfortunately, as late as yesterday, this is the cabinet secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture who not only denies the fact that there is, flawed or substandard fertilizer being sold in the country, but then goes to attack me as a person. Now, I don't have any problem with him attacking me as an individual. He might have his own gripe with me, but I would have wished that he would address himself to the facts. Finally, I will say, at the risk of flouting rules of parliamentary privilege, that there are politicians who reached out to us to kill the story before it ran. These politicians sit amongst you, they debate with you, they will likely be investigating alongside you, but they, from where I sit, do not have the intentions, the honest and right intentions of members of the public at heart. I would name them, but I think it would be a legal battle that I might be ready to engage with, but not at this present moment. But should any investigative or agency choose to call on me to provide evidence of what I am saying, then we are ready. We are more than ready to provide this evidence because we have it. And to members of the public and specifically members of the press, I hope that the example that we've been able to demonstrate today should show that none of us should be cowed when it comes to covering these kinds of issues, especially when they're in the public interest. If there are any other questions for us, we are happy to answer them. But for now, I'd just like to say thank you once again to the Senate Committee for Agriculture, to the Secretariat, and hope that further opportunities for the exposing of bad actors in our country should be met, especially at the committee level. Thank you very much.
You know, I normally tell people that you may need a doctor maybe 3 times a year, maybe 4. A lawyer like Senator Manzo, maybe sometimes when you are on the other side of the law, maybe 2 to 3 times maybe a year. But for the farmer, you need the farmer in the morning, breakfast, during coffee time, 10 o'clock, lunch, and dinner. So what you did, I cannot, I don't think I can express it enough. So having said that, I think now I'll adjourn the meeting with the exception of this committee, the members of this committee, because we need to make decisions on some issues still pending here. For the team, the media, and everybody who came, thank you very much for coming, and we'll continue to communicate and work together with you. Thank you very much.